Assalamu'alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In this next occasion, we will present about product assessment. Let me introduce our group. Group 12 is me, Kirana Dara, and my friend Nova Tania. Next. First, the definition of product assessment. Product assessment is one type of authentic assessment where learners project a product according to its competence. The thing assessed is the student's work in the form of an object. These objects can be made of cloth, paper, metal, wood, plastic, ceramic, and works of art such as paintings, drawings, and sculptures, works in the form of musical arrangement, choreography, literary works, and are not included in the work referred here. Next. The aspect assessed including the following: skills of students using tools and procedures. Second, quality both technically and aesthetically. Next, the differences in performance, projects, and product assessment. There are four aspects from the differences. The first aspect is assess skill. The difference is for performance, work skills. For project is investigation skill. And for product is product or object production skill. For rated object, performance is demonstrating skill, project is report, and product is product quality or object. For implementation, performance is individual, project is group, for product is group or individual. And then for assessment technique, for performance is observation, for project is rate report, and for product is assess the manufacturing process and product quality. Next. Purpose of product assessment. Assess the student mastery of the required skills before learning the next skill. Second, assess the level of competence that has been mastered by student at the end of each level or class in vocational school. Third, assess the skill of students who will enter vocational education institutions. Next. The stages of product assessment. There are three stages of product assessment. The first stage is the planning stage. At this stage, the assessment is carried out on the preparation, which includes the ability of students to plan, explore and develop ideas, and design products. The second stage is the production stage. The production of product making stage includes an assessment of students' ability in selecting and using materials, tools, and technique. The third is the final stage. The final stage includes an assessment of a student's ability to make product according to their use and meet the aesthetic criteria using materials, tools, and techniques. Next. Product assessment technique. First is anecdotal. A note made by the teacher during observations of students during activities. Anecdotal is usually used to record competencies that have not been seen in student work, such as students' ability to work together, students' ability to use equipment safely, or students' ability to choose the right work material. The second is analytical assessment scale. Is an assessment made based on several aspects of student work seen from various perspectives or criteria. This scale is used to assess ability at the planning or design stage and the final stage. Input stage, the teacher can assess the design or student work from various perspectives and criteria. For each skill that is measured, several criteria are determined that must be met. And the third is holistic assessment scale. It's a scale of assessment of the overall student's work. This scale is used for assessment at the final stage, such as an assessment of the quality of student work and an assessment of students' ability to evaluate their work. Next. There are advantages and disadvantages of product assessment. The first is the advantage. Teachers can assess children's creativity to see that students have creativity and competence. Second, the competence of each child can really be known objectively. The third, student can practice the knowledge obtained directly through real experiments. The fourth is student can review the truth of the subject matter that has been obtained. Next, allow a teacher to access the ability of student to plan, create, and produce academic texts. Then, allow a teacher to encourage student to do and complete assignment. Next, allow a teacher to create problems that can encourage student to create work that can sharpen student learning creativity. And for disadvantage, we have requires a lot of time, and then not all basic competence can be made real works, especially abstract ones. And the third is the cost of making real work is sometimes expensive. The fourth, the manufacturing process takes a long time, and the physical capacity as a support is not the same. The fifth is requires carefulness from a teacher in giving assignment to student. And then the teacher must be patient and skilled in giving directions to student. And then sometimes what happens if the assignment is assigned to an individual student, it is likely that there is interference from other parties. Next. Example of classic mathematics learning. Subject mathematics, grade or semester is 6 and 2. The basic competence is making a floor plan of a place, and the indicator is making a floor plan and the placement of important object in it. The task is do these tasks in groups. Make a school plan in the form of room layout and schoolyard using A3 size drawing paper or manila paper in 28 centimeters until 40 centimeters. Pay attention to the instruction below. Determine the size of the school, including the yard, by measuring the length and width of the school. B, based on the size of the school and considering the size of the cardboard, determine the scale that will be used to create the floor plan. C, sketch the floor plan first before drawing the floor plan on drawing paper on manila. D, determine the location of objects that are considered important to be displayed on the floor plan, such as classroom, teacher rooms, halls, canteens, prayer rooms, libraries, laboratories, courtyards, and so on. E, place or position with picture of objects that are considered important into the paper that has been provided. F, shown the floor plan to make it interesting to see, for example, by giving color and touch of art. Next, the examples of classics mathematics learning, we need to prepare tools and materials. The first is A3 size drawing paper or 28 centimeters times 40 centimeters manila papers. Second, ruler. Third, pencil. Fourth, scissors. And the last, plain decoration tools or materials. Next. The next material will explain by my friend Tania. For Tania, the time is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirana. I will continue the explanation from our group. I'm continue the example of class 6 mathematical learning for scoring and scoring or guidelines rubric. There are 3 stages. The first is preparation or design, and the second is production, and the last is result. For the preparation or design, include an assessment of student abilities in preparing to explore, develop idea, and designing product. For example, determining the scale, paper size, completeness of material. And the rank of score is from 0 until 2. And then the second stage is include an assessment of student abilities in selecting and using material, tools, and technique. For example, how to use tool like ruler, pencil, and so on in making a floor plan. And the score in rank 0 until 5. And the last is the stage of result, include the assessment of the student ability to make product according to predetermined use and criteria. For example, the final product like decoration, coloring, artistic touch meet the criteria of beauty and so on. And the rank of score is from 0 until 3. So we have the total score from stage 1 until the last stage is 0 until 10. And then this is the example of using rubric for making. For example, for group 1 has the score of preparation is 2, and then the score of production is 3, and the score of result is 3. So group 1 has the score is 8, and group 2 has the score is 2 for preparation, and then the score of production is 4, score of result is 3. So the total score of group 2 is 9. And then from the scoring above, as an example of the scoring for each activity as follows. The first, preparation or design activities get score 0 if they do not do it, and then score 1 if do part of it, and score 2 if the perception of the rubric exists or don't all. Second, implementation activities get score 4 if without error on complete according to criteria. And then get the score 3 if there is a little error or less according to the specific criteria. And then get the score 2 if there are many error or not complete. And score 1 if not doing or not of rubric that has been determined. Third, reporting activity gets a score 4 if without error on according to the criteria, score 3 if slight error or incomplete, score 2 if there are a lot of mistakes or not complete, and score 1 if doesn't do or nothing of rubric that predetermined. And the last total score can be transferred to score of the scale 0 until 100. Sample score of the first group is equal to I over 10 times 100. So we have the score of the first group is 80. And then the second example, example of class 10 mathematics learning for the subject is mathematics for grade 10 in second semester. The basic competence is determine the position of point, lines, and planes in the three-dimensional space. And then the indicator is first, create a cube space model. Second, make a model of building a block space. And the third, make a model of a regular rectangular pyramid. And the assessment type is product. The question or task should be stacked in group of 4 students each. The first, make a model of a cube, a block, and a regular rectangular pyramid made of 0.2 millimeter diameter wire with a cube rib size of 20 centimeter, while the size of the block is 30 centimeter long and 20 centimeter wide and 10 centimeter height. For the base pyramid is a square with a side length of 12 centimeter and a side length of 20 centimeter. Pay attention to the model of building space that you make. How long the wires do you need to make cubes and blocks? And then the prepared tool and material must be doing by student is wire with a diameter of 0.2 millimeter. Second is ruler. The third is wire cutting tools. and then the solder, and the last toolkit in the form of pliers. And this is the scoring guidelines or the rubric. Similar with the previous example, there are 3 stages. The first is preparation or design, include an assessment of student abilities in preparing to explore, develop idea, and designing product. For example, equipment and use of tool or material, and the score in rank 0 until 2. And then the second stage is the stage of production, include an assessment of student abilities in selecting and using material, tool, and techniques. For example, how to use tool like wires, ruler, and so on in making model of cube and blocks. Suitability of the desired size and management of the time used, and the score in rank 0 until 5. And the last stage is the result, include assessment of the student ability to make product according to predetermined use and criteria. For example, the final product like accuracy, correctness, neatness, and correctness of the answering question, and the score in rank 0 until 3. So the total score from the stage 1 until the last stage, we have the score in rank 0 until 10. And then this is the example of using rubric formatting. For example, group 1 have the score 2 in preparation, score 3 in production, and score 3 in result. So the total score from group 1 is 8. And for group 2, they have the score 2 in preparation, score 4 in production, score 2 in result. So for group 2 has the total score is also 8. And then this is the note of the scoring guidelines. In the above scoring, as an example of the scoring for each activity is as follows. The preparation or design activities get score 0 if they do not do it, score 1 if do part of it, and score 2 if the perception of the rubric exists or don't all. And the second stage is implementation activities get score 4 without error or complete according to criteria, and then get the score 3 if there is a little error or less according to the specific criteria, and get the score 2 if there are many error or not complete, and a score 1 if not doing or not of rubric that has been determined. And the third reporting activity gets a score 4 if without error or according to the criteria, score 3 if slight error or incomplete, score 2 if there are a lot of mistakes or not complete, and score 1 if doesn't do or nothing of rubric predetermined. The total score can be transferred to score of the scale 0 to 100. For example, for first group, the score is 8 over 10 times 100. So the score of first group is 80. And this is the conclusion of our presentation. The first is product assessment of one type of authentic assessment where learner produce a product according to its competence. The focus of product assessment is the work result, but the process of working on the work must also be assessed. The aspect assessed include skill and quality. The result of product assessment can be used by teacher to assess the student mastery of skill and assessing the level of competence mastered by student. In completing the product assessment tasks, students are directed to take 3 stages that must be done, namely the planning stage, the production stage, and the final stage. The third, product assessment has advanced and disadvantage in the learning process, including the teacher can assess children's creativity to see students have creativity and competence. But measuring this takes a relatively long time. The fourth, the purpose of product assessment are assess the student mastery needed before studying the previous lesson, assess the level of competence that students have mastered at the end of each level of class, and assess the student skill who will enter educational institution. And the last, the method of assessment and recording of the student work. Product assessment include the anecdotal, analytical assessment scale, holistic assessment scale. Okay, thank you. I think enough for our presentation. And we are sorry if we have some mistake. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.